Welcome to the Allo.Capital podcast. If you're just joining us, this season we are summoning Allo.Capital, a new spinout from Gitcoin that's designed to build the capital allocation layer of the tokenized internet. We think there's big upside here. Capital allocation is a multi-trillion-dollar design space. VCs, governments, NGOs, and DAOs all have to allocate capital to survive and thrive. But it's also a place we can start small. Every time you spend money, you are allocating capital. We are threading a through line, partnering with builders, researchers, and funders to figure out what on-chain next generation capital allocation looks like, building it on-chain. If you want to learn more, you can visit our website at Allo.Capital, where you can download the Allo books for free, play with some of our dApps, join the Telegram, or participate in the DAO. All right. Today, our guest is Tomas, the founder of Nethermind and co-executive director of the Ethereum Foundation. Tomas was appointed as co-executive director in March 2025 with HWW. Together, they focus on scaling Ethereum's layer one, integrating the data blobs, and enhancing the user experience of Ethereum. Tomas also is known as the founder of Nethermind, a leading Ethereum execution client known for its performance and stability. Under his guidance, Nethermind has become integral to Ethereum's infrastructure. And in May 2025, he co-founded Lantern Capital, a venture capital firm focusing on early-stage investments in AI and blockchain, bridging traditional venture capital with emerging technology. I'm also joined on this episode by my co-founder and co-host, Rena O'Brien. And together we talked to Tomas about the Ethereum Foundation, the Ethereum ecosystem. Where is it going? Where is that roadmap going to lead us? What does Tomas think of the app layer? What does he think is missing in the app layer? How can we better support builders? How can we solve Ethereum's biggest problems as a network of capital allocators? And I think this is a really interesting episode to get inside the new co-ED of Ethereum Foundation's head on where things are going and how the Gitcoin, Allo.Capital, and Ethereum ecosystem, the network of builders and talented doers, thinkers, and impactors can help the Ethereum ecosystem. So I think you're going to enjoy this episode with Rena and Tomas. Hey, Tomas. Hey, Rena.
Hey, Waki. Hey, Tomas.
Hi, everyone.
Tomas, you want to kick us off with a intro?
Sure. Hi, I'm Tomasz. I joined Ethereum Foundation as a co-executive director with COA 2 months ago. And before that, for a few years, I was working on Ethereum core development, infrastructure, building Nethermind, and also working with a few companies in the space. So at the board of Starknet, building TwinStack, institutional staking, as working with Flashbots, building Euler, the DeFi protocol. So quite a lot around Ethereum. And before that, a long time ago, it was traditional finance on technology side. I was working at a hedge fund called Allo.Capital, and before that at Citibank, working on the FX Dart team.
I'd love to start by just checking in. It's such a whirlwind of an industry right now, and it's a time of great change, and you're sort of in the eye of the storm. How you doing?
Yeah, doing great. I think that's maybe because so many people are expecting some changes without even maybe specifying that much what they need. So everyone is supporting whatever change it is. I feel there's a honeymoon. Everyone is super nice and willing to collaborate. I think that maybe also the realization that there was a lot of changes and opportunities in the industry. Also, the word crisis about Ethereum. So everyone wanted to help and wanted to feel like, look, this is important moment strategically. This is important moment tactically. So if I participate in it, it will be important for me in the future. So that's what other people think. I imagine that. And suddenly you see a lot of voices like waking up after a few years and ready to fight for the values that they were fighting in the past, and maybe they already succeeded and partially retired, and now they think like, yeah, I'm needed again, and I want to help. So it's just fantastic moment to be active and to listen to people and try to just aggregate that and help others to execute.
What are the biggest opportunities you think right now, especially while you're in honeymoon phase?
Biggest opportunities for Ethereum, I think that's the finally green light for institutions to start using Ethereum. Suddenly, there's so many people, like there was probably new generation coming to financial markets and already building the awareness of what digital assets are, already being there and wanting to use it, and over and over again being blocked and stopped and said, no, we cannot touch it not because something is wrong with technology, it's not ready, or it wouldn't work in the future, it's not the future. They would hear that simply there is some regulator that's absolutely not allowing them to do that. So that change just unblocks so many people eager to build it and show that it works. So this is huge opportunity. And I think that another opportunity is that the moment that institutions having this green light, the general mood changes, like that there's less voices that will tell everyone that this is wrong, that this is just crime or gambling, or so people understand, yeah, like this really transformational technology that solves lots of problems, borderless solutions, payments, new models of governance. It's massive, and then we'll finally reach even more people, and we see that this year as well. Like, it's a massive opportunity how many users are being onboarded by the Ethereum ecosystem. It's now we're counting that in millions of people that actually will be ready to start using apps and payments much more readily, and we see uh, the prediction markets. We see payment systems, identity solutions, the AI solutions probably just behind the corners, and like massive boost of AI usage. So more than one opportunity, a lot of them.
We are fixing Ethereum's marketing problem. Go ahead, Oski.
Yeah, fixing marketing problem. Yeah, I mean, like just through the fact that there are opportunities now that we're talking so positively about it, and I think that also there is a question whether foundation should deal with marketing problem directly. Should it be understood as a marketing in the type of branding, logo, voice, the message, social media, like traditional advertising, or I think it's more really about Ethereum Foundation having strong communication, like openness to communication, clarity of voice, of strategy, a message that can be multiplicated by others, like amplified by others. And then I think there's lots of fantastic businesses built on Ethereum that simply advertise it. I was saying that now you go, like institutions go to Allo.Capital, go to Grow the Pie, go to RWA XYZ, or like the EthereumAdoption.com. They go to these dashboards and they see Ethereum logo and Ethereum name everywhere, and they use this name. So even if whatever L2 they're using, very often they remember so clearly that it's Ethereum. So that marketing happens, and it happens in a very strong way. Like this is technology that we use. This is technology that changes the world. This is technology at which we are looking and we analyzing. Technology that brings security to and permissionless access to the world, to the financial markets, and allows others to also exist, even if they're not maybe traditionally allowed to these markets because of being in the underdeveloped, like financial markets wise, underdeveloped spaces.
Tomas, you and your co-executive director, HWW, wrote on the Ethereum Foundation blog a couple weeks ago that there's 3 major directives in Ethereum for the next 12 months: scaling the L1, scaling blobs, and improving UX. And you also just unrolled your values that you champion, which I understand have been consistent over many years: censorship resistance, open source innovation, privacy protection, and security. I'm wondering if you can sort of play forward your vision for what the Ethereum ecosystem looks like in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years out. If you were to play these values forward, could you paint us a picture of how you see the Ethereum ecosystem evolving from here?
Yeah, sure. Taking all those aspects into account. So the 3 things that we talk about. So scaling L1 means that this year we want to have 100 million gas per block on Ethereum 1. Next year we want to have 300 million gas per block on a 1. And then probably 2-3 years from now, we start hitting with like the generational innovation around L1 that will allow us to go further, 3x a year or even 10x, like some acceleration. So this probably will be related to the fast maturing zkVM solutions, or some other innovation that probably will be also driven by the accelerated research with modern tools. So this is L1, scaling L1. And what it will enable, it will be practically, I expect that in the long term, whatever we do with L1, it will always operate at the target block size, which means that block space will be used. That's the value of Ethereum, that it's now like increasing with the adoption in institutions, by institutions in financial markets, by adoption on identity systems, probably return of NFTs in the formats of like some very, very advanced next generation metaverse, for example, like new forms of art. All of this will always keep the Ethereum at target in the long term. Like you might have this like short-term volatility, some kind of temporary doubt of the ecosystem about like is L1 growing in the future to support everything that we plan to grow on the L2s. Now coming back to scaling blobs, right? So why we say scaling blobs and not scaling L2, because I think it's our responsibility at the foundation and by the Cardiff ecosystem is to make L1 the like totally fantastic best platform for L2s to use to scale. So it's really their responsibility to scale L2s, and very often they'll just borrow the scaling ideas that we deliver for L1. It's very often the same client, same EVM, same ideas. So they have it for free. So we innovate by scaling L1, we innovate for L2s as well. Where we scale blobs, is say we give you the space to use to borrow security, to use the interop, to get the network effects, to use L1, but it's your responsibility to scale, to generate adoption, to market it, to distribute ETH, to build this interop ecosystem. Now, this means that in a year, we would like the L2s to operate with tens or hundreds of millions of users. We would like to see like 100x explosion of the stablecoins usage of real-world assets, tokenization solutions, the actual like identities on board with privacy secured. All of this happening on the L2s, while L1 always processing everything that's most valuable and like anchoring the value like through minting the tokens on L1 before moving them out to if this is of high value. And the third thing was interop and UX. So as we succeed with the L2s, L1 scaling, then all of this is just, it will be a nightmare if we don't solve the problem of the interop, that it feels like one ecosystem, because we'll still have this, we would have this tension that maybe something doesn't look good in the wallet, and maybe it doesn't really feel like one chain. And this is part of the very important marketing message that it is Ethereum ecosystem, it is network effects, it is security that is shared, that is used from L1, that anyone who comes to this ecosystem always benefits from L1. So, and this is like enough of the, like these three things to focus on. That is extremely challenging, but I think we have extremely talented people on the research side, on the engineering side in Ethereum. And it's not only quality, but also numbers. And this is like number of independent organizations that improve, develop L2s, L1s, execution clients. Sure, there's also compliant. There's too many of them. But continuously benefit from that. So like if you show that we can ship improvements every 6 months, then I think we'll stop hearing that there's something wrong with all core devs. So we have to show that like, and this is not a problem with just too many clients. It's just that we really failed for a while with coordination, and it's more of the operational side structure of ACT that we are addressing. Team posted blog posts and proposals on what to fix. And generally, the willingness to win is just fixing all of this.
I think it's interesting that the three major directives are very much at the protocol layer, sort of the infrastructure layer. How do you see the app layer co-evolving as y'all are shipping upgrades to the infrastructure layer every 6 months?
Sure. I think that the first of all, we think that Ethereum Foundation really has to show that it takes care of the protocol. And why for the protocol? Because whenever I was thinking about what apps need the most, probably this is it, like the really good UX, the scaling, and the expectation, like this very lots of confidence that everything will be good with the protocol. So they can very safely choose Ethereum ecosystem to build on, right? So if you sort it, that's super important. Now, if you sort it in a way that you don't listen to the apps and start doing something with the protocol that they don't need, that they will not use, then it's a problem. So refocusing protocol changes, like if you is like scaling L1, apps want it because it also delivers the scaling of L2s, scaling blobs, like the scale, the transaction cost, and interop UX. It says, yeah, this is the best ecosystem to build on. Now, we also rebuilding in the Ethereum Foundation the EcoDev, like ecosystem development cluster. So we do a bit of restructuring, thinking that also the function of that ecosystem development cluster has to be related to those three goals, but focused on the developers, founders, builders, going through the path that's like from being interested in Ethereum protocol all the way to deploying apps and succeeding there. And then we start tracking it by like measuring results, tracking quarter and quarter the improvement. And before we build that machinery, there might be some time. Hopefully, you compress it to 2 weeks. It's already happening, which means that we invite all the like incubators, accelerators, VCs to talk to us and say, we want to be in your pipelines. We want to be there saying that we're ready to talk to all the founders, hackers, people interested in building, so they can get connected to us and we can fund it, we can help them, we can mentor them. Ethereum Foundation will mentor those people. And I think that part of the UX, this third direction, the UX is also what's the impression of a new user coming to Ethereum ecosystem? What's their experience by how many apps they see in the ecosystem? And how good those apps are, how good is the design, and how many problems they solve for the user. So, and even security is part of the UX, right? Like if the user comes to the Ethereum ecosystem, do they stay for long time or forever with their assets being safe and their assets being always operating to improve whatever aspects of their lives they really care about. So whether it's fun for games, if they want to speculate and gamble, they should have fun on the protocol as well. Is it about the just general financial safety? Maybe they want to have access to global assets, borderless. Maybe it's just the ability to travel and carry like their privacy, identity, and privacy together, and move between countries and have access to services. I don't know whether it's insurance, medical services, and not thinking that, oh, I'm locked to this particular place on Earth. This is truly global network that solves the things universally for me. So this is user experience, and if Ethereum can show that this is exactly how it was designed, that you can be that we can care about your privacy. Nobody knows who you are, but you arrive somewhere. I don't know. You walk into the hospital and you say like, yeah, I can be treated, and I don't have to tell you anything, but you see that everything is safe and that you'll be paid, that insurance pays for that, that I can rent a car without telling who I am. It's a bit funny, but like the thing is like the reason I keep giving up the identity, like the privacy to the companies is because they're worried, right? They're worried that you will not pay, that they will not be able to execute claims, that you'll commit crimes. And so, well, you want to be able to say, no, let's do this trustless system. We don't have to talk about things that we don't care about. Like we just want to feel safe here. So this would be user experience. And then you deliver that by saying that this protocol is truly global, truly neutral, and everyone accepts it everywhere.
Was that you raising your hand? Your hand like on the reverse side.
I was trying to pass the next question to Rena for those who are watching our video.
Your hands aren't even in the screen. Gosh, where do I want to go with this? There was a couple of things that you touched on, Tomas, that I think are really important. And of course, we're thinking of it as well from the outside looking into the Ethereum Foundation. Owaki founded, and I'm executive director of a little company called Gitcoin. You might have heard of us. And wondering from a twofold question, I suppose, in how Gitcoin can support the Ethereum Foundation in some of those hackathons and some of those things that you've said, given that we've been around for a bit in terms of public goods funding as well as OSS, but then how like our builders can also get more activated for the Ethereum Foundation. Like you said, like that connection and that network effects of seeing just the beauty of what some of these apps can do, I think is really important, especially as people are getting more and more excited about Gitcoin. So those are kind of my twofold questions, like getting some of that funding out into the world and into those builders' hands, wherever they might be. And then, of course, like figuring out what those best apps might be or versions of getting those builders in front of you.
Yeah, it's Charlie. Gitcoin is an amazing journey, and I think it's somewhere there on the pathway to success of so many applications or even infrastructure projects on Ethereum and probably beyond. So I keep telling that like that's the story. Like for me, Gitcoin was almost like a existential thing, like supporting Netamind when we were about to fail. Like someone contributed I don't know, a few $1,000s when I was really struggling to get even $5
I'd love to hear it.
for saving things. I mean, I had support from friends and family, so it's not like the case. It was just a question of how much beyond my own money would have to go to save the company. And I imagine must have been like for other people like this. And it's always this like extremely difficult way of say when $1,000 is something existential and once $1,000 is something that nobody cares about in some organization, and how to and even more when this $1,000 is just someone taking advantage of you and maybe like defrauding the money. And Gitcoin was a way of just like chasing and finding these novel ways of doing that, whether it's can be as permissionless and as privacy focused as possible, but also like delivering that value. And it means that you have to experiment with the mechanism like Sybil resistance of identifying where the money should really go. Like what's really big difference, what really matters. And it's extremely difficult. Like so, Gitcoin going through that journey and saying, yeah, we'll try to do it. And you've done it many times over and over again. And then you have more and more threats like that people learn. And it's like a never ending game. So I guess you achieve something and people come and say, yeah, now I know how to take advantage of that system. So build something new. I think it'll be always important as long as you're just like continuously fighting to improve that and introduce novel algorithms, defensive mechanisms, new technologies. And I think it requires so much effort and so much dedication. And it's always a question of, what's the measure of success? And like for me, Gitcoin will always be like a massive success. And
Tell
probably,
us more. Keep going. This is great.
yeah, no, like
Well,
because they need it in the ecosystem. I'm like that's why we love that experimentation. We love that feeling of Ethereum as a network effect. Also, people helping with research, with solutions, with applications spawning from small grants very often. I mean, I don't know how substantial the grant from the foundation to Uniswap was, but think about like how Uniswap started. Like it was at the beginning, I don't know, 2018 or so. I think both Nethermind and Uniswap were grantees from the same time as from the Ethereum Foundation. And so for us, it was super substantial. I guess for Uniswap as well, like the kind of notification, yeah, this is a great app. And now you look back and Uniswap consistency for the last few years was like one of the biggest like fee payers on Ethereum, and now also launching successful too. So yeah, this
I
this is
think that
important.
for me, I look at sort of my place in the ecosystem as sort of like a traffic director. And one of the things I would really love to do is direct the people who pay attention to me towards Ethereum's biggest problems and how can we help accelerate Ethereum. We do this because we love Ethereum's values, but let's be honest, we also have ETH bags as well. And so, 4 years ago, Ethereum's biggest problem I think was like funding, consensus clients, execution clients, things like Nethermind. But now I see a different evolution of problems, maybe adoption or marketing Ethereum. What do you think Ethereum's biggest contemporary problems are that networks of people, whether they're Gitcoin aligned or in the Ethereum ecosystem, how can those networks of people help solve those problems and complement your efforts at the Ethereum Foundation? I think that's to me the highest order question here.
Yeah, when so I had hundreds of conversation asking for these problems, and one thing that we now addressing, but I think it still requires like much improvement is the very clear direction upwards on the new developers coming to the Ethereum ecosystem. And we still the ecosystem that has by far the most developers actively working on everything, infrastructure, applications. As it's not like you still will say, oh, is apps are missing, but if people build DeFi, they'll come and say very clearly like that Ethereum is the only space to go and build meaningful DeFi where the liquidity is. So they'll build the DeFi on Ethereum and they'll get funding on this. But we want even more novel areas. So it has to be always exciting, and probably there's always a question of how developers choose. Some kind of getting attracted to short-term rewards, to get some money to build, getting attracted to something that is super interesting, getting attracted to communities that tell you like, yeah, let's build together. And I imagine like the journey of the new developer in the ecosystem, and I guess overwhelming majority of them will be coming just fresh from like the high school, university times. So this search for a bit of all of this, like very often they know that they are at the stage of career where there's like so much to choose from, and it's like the choices are much more consequential than like just a few $100s or a few $1,000. But sometimes this will be so meaningful that will attract them somewhere. So the question is how to consistently show that Ethereum's values and the ability to build and the developer experience and your expectation of success and satisfaction with what you've built in your life is just like overwhelmingly more than someone else like trying to attract you in a direction which will not leave you the same proud of what you've built. So the problem is if we somehow maybe start doubting it as ourselves, and when developers start feeling it, and when we think that's actually just the money, but when we can deliver everything together, like the message that look like you come here and you'll be working with the top thought leaders, top builders, people that actually are absolutely brilliant and just build for the sake of building. At the same time, you for sure will be successful financially here because this happened over and over again to many like developer generations. So probably gets replaced like every 2-3 years building on Ethereum. So this is a challenge. It's a problem if we start losing it, if we start doubting it, that the devs absolutely have fun on Ethereum. I think they do, and I think that each time it's a bit better mood. I find so many new devs. Like we've onboarded, I have Nethermind. We've onboarded over 600 interns to the ecosystem in the last few years. It's like a massive amount of people, and their stories are so encouraging. Like what you see, what they built, where they contributed, the companies they started, how successful they're in lives. Like this is lots of encouraging stories. So I'd like to see more of this, and like strong belief that that we are there and that we just opening new chapters. That is agents, AI, new models of governance, that the new opportunities of combining Ethereum and traditional finance, financial institutions, maybe working now with solving like the government's issues without feeling always rejected. There's all excitement. Yeah.
I'm wondering if do you think that there's other ecosystems that are doing this better, or that there's lessons to be learned? And
Spicy.
specifically, I think when I was doing my research, someone asked me to ask this question, so I'm just going to go for it. Is Super Team actually contributing to Solana's success? It's often cited for Ethereum app builders that we need a super team.
Yeah, I've heard a lot that Super Team is doing a great job, and I met some people from Super Teams around the world. So it'll be like so not nice to say that they're not contributing to successes of their local communities. Probably not like every single chapter of Super Team is extremely successful, and we try to explore it a bit more, like what they're doing, how they're doing that, how their events look. So we went to some events, we started talking to organizers, and we understand it's like that some of this message. I'm not saying that something is wrong with Super Team. Actually, it seems that it's fantastic. But also we understood that, like maybe we got just a bit too much convinced by others that something is wrong on Ethereum. Like, no, it's very well advertised, very well functioning machine. But then we look at the Ethereum ecosystem and the meetups, the hackathons, like the Eve Global, the Folio, doing like thousands of people hackathons with fantastic atmosphere. I just watched some recordings from like carding on stage on during the Eve Global. This is massive, and people come, and this is onboarding so many people to Ethereum ecosystem. Look at the hackathons from the L2s, like Starknet hacker houses, Base organized like AI hacker houses. All of this, it's massive, and you go all those places and you see it's doing great job. Still, we want to say, okay, we hear it, that people like to see Ethereum Foundation also doing great job on the Super Steam style, and that's why we built this thinking of the pipeline, like the pathways of the developers, and starting tracking it. So I think that if indeed, and to here I don't have insights, like if indeed there is some like very very well organized operational support to track the results and make sure that you do it at its massive scale and Solana with Super Team, then the question is there something that Ethereum Foundation where you can activate many of those builders as well? And I think in our case, it's more of building the network and connecting lots of different existing players to connect like the output of one moment in the journey with the input of the other in the other stage, because there is a bit just like too many disconnected players. We see fantastic incubators, accelerators. We see that majority of the VC funding still sees like lots of great builders coming to Ethereum. We see fantastic hackathons. for sure like the best of the hackathons in the blockchain ecosystem. But it just feels that we're losing people just in between those stages. So we try to make sure there's much more networking, that we build a network of people also on top of a fantastic network of protocols, and that it's a bit more protocolized, more organized by EF.
What I guess if we're gonna be spicy, I'm gonna continue being spicy. In terms of, the leadership at EF, what do you believe you're uniquely qualified to do differently to solve for some of these problems moving forward versus what happened in the past?
Hmm. I'm not sure how much of this is qualification and how much of this is just like willingness to keep talking to everyone.
Mm.
So it's just putting hours and countless meetings and just listening. And like if I had this like few hundred conversations, the people that like the caliber of people and their qualifications and their insights that they shared with me, it's just like it makes me immediately very comfortable to think that yeah, I have the best input in the world that I could. These are successful founders of multi-billion-dollar protocols, multi-billion-dollar VC that went through probably like few thousand portfolio companies review and selecting and checking what makes it a successful application and so on. Like successful investors, successful builders, exceptional like security researchers. Like when we launched recently this $1 trillion security program, like the look at the people that will be acting there as mentors and will have more. So so that's not my qualification. As just being open to maybe remove the feel that it has to be me, because it will be a bit of a like I don't know ego or trying to prove that there's some kind of that there is some kind of unique ability of mine that I come and I fix it. No, just like coming and say that actually nobody who is coming to manage this and help with operations, that we together we feel like that we have to do it ourselves. No, we have to actually almost like say we accept this ecosystem is so strong and we don't want to put our name into many places. I'm like, sure, I'm here at the podcast and like I hope that after a while people see like, yeah, I'm just saying what other people say. That's like nothing of mine. I have like history of just like building and being in all of these places and being a nomad and traveling all the time. It means that I built all of this network of people and I always happy to connect and just remove myself from this connection. So like a typical networking thing, you just connect to people and then escape from the channel. I think it also works in solving problems. You just connect the right people and then escape from that channel and they solve it if you connect to the right people.
Fantastic leadership, sir. That's a great answer. Um, I guess a little bit going back to like you were saying, the people that you're talking to, and this is more of a personal one for me. How do you separate from all those conversations the signal and the noise? From both a moral perspective and operational one, like that's something I find very tricky.
Yeah, so I think there are two things here. One is what is the common pattern? Like what is the pattern? If I'm talking to like hundreds of super smart people, if they all repeat the same thing, that first it's really reasonable to assume that probably this is the problem. Like and they all agree I should trust this. But also then there is thing of is there sometimes a signal that one person said something with a huge conviction, maybe slightly contrarian, and then should I ignore it then just because it doesn't reappear over and over again? Should I maybe think like, oh no, I believe in it, and I'll just and I think this would be a mistake because the moment I'll say I believe in it, it will be my decision almost. So what I am trying to do then is just make sure that I don't ignore it, but I don't accept it. Which means that, oh wait, this is contrarian. This is something that not many people said before. Just take this opinion and go back to the all the other people and said, look, I have this like very different opinion here from someone who is really knowledgeable. Like tell me, try to attack it. Let's try to defend it. Let's try to play with this idea. Bring it to the bring it to the strategy meeting and see what goes there. And sure, I'm like now I'm telling you uh, the ideal version of me if it's executed this way. Well, I'm pretty sure that I'm creating the meetings where people come and they feel like that I'm trying to push my own opinions, and then I have to think for a moment. I say, yeah, I really did it. So it happens, but this is probably the signal and noise thing. Like, what is common pattern? Do people agree with things? If you start attacking those, I'm starting asking like questions, like, really, right? Like, did you just you just say it because everyone else says that? Is it just that we accepted something that feels natural, but we all read the same tweet together yesterday and we are still under the impression of it? So it's worth to always remember that there is this like temporary emotions that even the best of us pick up.
No, it's amazing. And that, Owaki, was teeing you up for some of the sense making that we're talking about doing at Gitcoin and with Ethereum. And I'm just
Yeah.
wondering, like, I guess for both of you, what that, the reason I asked Tomasz as well is like from a decentralization point of view, from what people care about, and then how to leave that like democratically in the hands of the people, it can get very tricky because you've got a lot of noise. Or people, like you said, all reading the same tweet, and then you've got an echo chamber while trying to help you and the Ethereum Foundation solve their problems. So
Yeah, I mean, okay. I mean, the decentralization thing, that's maybe the last part of this like signal and noise is the potential like incentives, somehow like external incentives and just like being manipulated. I think it rarely happens. I'm like, if like it's a question of whether you're really able to avoid those traps, right? We'll see over a long time. Like, did we fall into those traps? Like, does decentralization mean sometimes manipulation? And I don't mean like manipulation of someone, like, but manipulation of the market, of the protocol, trying to find the vulnerabilities. That's what very often decentralization means, that you build a protocol and you expose all the vulnerabilities to decentralized actors. You have to make sure that it's really resilient protocol, very well designed one, and that's on the human level as well. If we design organizations, they have to be resilient to all those potential attacks and vulnerabilities, manipulation, persuasion, and so on. So usually, like, a lot of honesty and sharing and communicating clearly allows you to detect it. The more you try to hide it, the more you try to keep the conversations like in some small channels, the more likely you're being manipulated, I think. So, okay, decentralization is just probably aspect of it as well.
nice. Thank you. Milwaukee.
I'd love to pivot the conversation into the app layer of Ethereum. I think that I'd love to hear just what apps you think are cool, what subcategories of the Ethereum app layer you're excited about. What would you like to see app builders focused on in the next 12 to 24 months?
Sure. Yeah. I think that's like I'll always feel that even like I don't know enough about the apps. I mean, I could like have more and more meetings with the apps. Or like today we're talking with Claros, like doing the conflict disputes resolutions, and a lot of other things around like insurance and the prediction markets. We have the prediction markets like Polymarket on Polygon. And then there's an entire DeFi ecosystem with, I believe, like more for recently being extremely successful, and Aave, this shows you this amazing TVL results scores. Then you have Uniswap for many years, that's leader in the fee burning and also launching L2s. Many of the successful applications go to to build L2s. We've seen the like Ethena on the like more of the financial structuring side. Well, stablecoins are applications as well, but this would be a bit like silly answer, I guess. All the launch bets for like agents, influencer agents, explorations that you've seen maybe from a bit more researchy style identity account teas, like what Flashbots X was doing. So the team they're experimenting with teleports, Teehee, Satan, like the solutions where you actually connect your like Twitter accounts with some parameters and agreements on chain. The What else we see? You'll have to start to help me. I probably like miss thousands of things. I've talked to the builders of Roico, which is a bit of like kind of liquidity incentives. I haven't then followed later what happened to them. So like I think they are doing well. I've heard some really cool technical solutions that are underneath. Well, I guess like all the gaming things. So you've seen the recent success of Focus Tree on Starknet, 250,000 users, I think, now onboarded, and taking advantage of all the UX innovation. I think we'll be looking at much of this UX innovation that happened on Starknet to see how it should affect the interrupt designs of the Ethereum ecosystem, what we can borrow there. The Ethereum as well, I think, on Starknet. And then probably means that I missed a lot of fantastic gaming solutions that when I think there is on Arbitrum, there's like the entire chain for gaming. I cannot tell you the name now, and it's like somebody will be really angry at me because we had a very long and nice conversation in Thailand last year. But yeah, if you go and look at the
Yeah.
most successful gaming solutions on Arbitrum. Sorry, yeah, you remember?
Oh, I think there was some latency. Is there anything that you think is missing at the app layer? Like any categories of apps that you think would be really cool to be built that you don't see a lot in now?
It's always hard to predict what should be there, what is missing. I think everything, yeah. Ideally, like when you look on your phone, like any of you who are listening, like look at your phone, look at the apps from the first page of your phone of apps and think like, is it running on blockchain and why not, and how it could improve. So I guess this would be best, like to feel that every single app is somehow connected to blockchain. Might be like trivial, that make sure that the payments use stable coins. It might be something as like protecting your data, privacy of your data. I think something that Pin AI is doing now, like is this like your personal AI assistant that maintains your privacy and uses some MCP connections. You see social media with Forecaster, so like all of this to be very, very naturally interconnected. We always dreamed of this like Uber on blockchain. And I think something like this happens in India, but it's actually decentralized and open. So no, it's open source, but not entirely using blockchain. And I don't remember the name, but they are like it's pretty successful app that is open source and like a Uber competitor in India. Yeah, I guess lots of
It's inter-
things, but
It's
I
interesting to hear you invoke the iPhone and the home apps and reason about what would it look like when these things are built in a privacy aware, open source, blockchainized way. I mean, do you think that that's the North Star here? Is that blockchain eats everything that's out there eventually one day?
not that it eats everything, but it's very naturally underlying everything, the same way as the internet, right? Like so, you have internet for connectivity, and you have blockchain for value and data storage, and for access and for attention allocation in a way. That would be great, and then that you don't have to go through any other systems that feel very fragmented and you like lack standards. And like above all, the problem is that if you don't use blockchain, you have borders. You have borders in the like international movements of assets, and that you have to like, I don't know, like this thing that you have to sometimes register a new account, just like that. I couldn't use Waymo in SF because I didn't have a US phone number. And it's just like, I just feel so like,
Yeah.
why? Like, why? What?
So there's
Oh,
a sort of data interoperability implication there. If everything's built on top of the EVM and can transfer your identity and your data back and forth, that's one thing. The other place my mind goes to is to organizations. A world in which the decentralized Uber that's bootstrapping in India, everyone gets a share of that corporation or that network as they're bootstrapping it. That becomes really interesting to me. And I can't help but wonder if we blockchain lots of things in the world, if you're instead of having an e-shares in the future or a Carta, I think it's called now, you'll just be having ERC20 tokens that are a share of your network. And for me, that's one of the exciting things is a world where everyone owns a piece of everything. So we all have upside in each other's ventures. Feels very positive some to me. But have you followed DAOs at all? Have you followed on-chain organizations at all? And what excites you in that space?
yeah, maybe just confirming what you mentioned. Like we had so much hope with the ICOs, and I think that ICOs did not necessarily fail us. I mean, like sure, like so many terrible projects, scams, but also many successes, and many of the ICOs failed because of the regulation blocking them from succeeding, like not allowing them to just like make it simple to own and invest and own shares. And like if we could go back to all those promises of disintermediation and fractional value and practically on-chain equities, I think we'll go back to that. And suddenly we realize that everything was right, like because this were so obvious solutions, because at the very beginning of Ethereum, we just invented everything that was natural. And then it started being blocked by the fact that we were struggling with the regulation of people that just felt this is too disruptive. Coming back to your question about DAO, yeah, I think I I rarely participate in the DAOs also because of that mixture of some super successful cool DAOs representing communities and like co-investing or co-building together. But then also DAOs that were just sometimes facades for the government, that's governance that you have to prove is decentralized, but then it wouldn't be truly decentralized. So there's a mixture of those, and I think what the bigger problem was maybe like this kind of coin voting, the idea that actually just the ownership, like it's really much we built on blockchain something that was very often very much against the ideas of how we would like the world to be defined. Like so we had experimentations, in Gitcoin not really is a production system, the quadratic voting, like trying to find a solution like more plurality, many people and not the ownership. And many DAOs were constructed simply for the ownership and then the delegation. And so I think it was missing some of the AI components, like the soft aspect of the layer, blockchain layer, that you had to try to predict all the interactions between people, because the DAOs are about governance, about interactions between people. You codified would you like to have a legal system in a country that's absolutely not allowing for exceptions and always following the rules strictly? It gives some expectation, but actually, is there fairness? You would hope that no, that sometimes people will listen what you have to say. So I think in the DAOs, there's lots of friction, and at the same time, I think that I never experienced the DAO from the inside properly
Don't
to
do
actually
it.
enough of the
Don't do it.
Don't do a
share.
2021 era DAO. I think that there's new primitives that are exciting, and we'll see what the 2025 crop looks like.
And Tomasz just actually nailed a few different things, which is those apps that can actually move people out of focusing simply on the governance for the facade of it all, as you said, and getting people excited about what's actually happening within the organizations and transparency. Sorry,
Yeah,
Waki,
I
go
think
ahead.
I'm talking tomorrow to like some authors of the book How to DAO. I'm maybe,
That's right. Buy the book, How to DAO, if you want to learn how to DAO.
yeah. We'll see.
Tomas, I have to ask this. I'm sorry. Do you think the Ethereum Foundation should become a DAO one day, or does it eventually
Mm.
decentralize?
So they not now. I think that's like some people would suggest like this should be faster. And then the answer that would say yes probably would feel a bit too futuristic. I have this a bit of a belief that many of the government systems, governance systems, DAOs will turn almost like fully agentic or hybrid agentic and human, like the AI human.
Yeah.
And then it would be very natural for like if foundation becomes the DAO, it means it becomes like automated really and hybrid between humans and AIs, and maybe over time more and more AI. This is a symbol of like massive technological shift. And I think that without this, it probably wouldn't work. And it's better to have the foundation as a foundation and keep decentralization on the more like traditional layer, on the legal system, independent institutions, geographic decentralization, that not necessarily you have to decentralize foundation itself, because everything around foundation is already decentralized, and foundation is one of the units in the decentralized system. And then I think the DAOs really here what probably introduce a lot of friction. They would allow us to like think of dog fooding of some of the governance systems, but then we would have to say, are those systems ready to create like super high functioning DAOs that are better than traditional organizations? And I would claim that for now not, and this would be a mistake, and it would lead to serious problems with the foundation. Sometimes because those DAOs probably are very often now overwritten by the leadership anyway. So I could imagine the DAO that would be with an overlay of extremely talented leaders, and that would be able to succeed in this environment. But does it mean that they wouldn't without the DAO? Probably not. So that's my thinking now. But I'm very open to various suggestions of how to structure it.
I think that, should the EF become a DAO is like a common parlor game that we all play together when we're together. And I think that before you ask how to DAO, you have to ask why DAO. And it feels like you're creating an organization that coheres, and there's no reason to make it a DAO at this point. But I can't help but wonder, like for all core devs and for the protocol PR&D, it doesn't make any sense for it to become a DAO. But for eco dev and how you all fund public goods, I'm excited to see a future where like Gitcoin can co-fund things along with the EF, along with I'm just going to say names, but none of these organizations have committed Arbitrum, Uniswap. You guys are the fifth, I think, largest treasury in Ethereum, but the number one funder of Ethereum public goods. And so sort of like breaking out eco dev so it's more modular, and allowing y'all to fund things together. I'm excited about that type of world. So I think that that's an area where we do see, there might be a reason to start breaking these things apart a little bit sooner rather than later.
I see, like when you say all core DApps is not a DAO, as at the same time there is protocol guild, there is a bit of like
Yeah.
very strange structures where like there's some financing for protocol guild, which comes actually from those old tools that you were mentioning. They very
Yeah,
often
it's beautiful.
contributed. And then like my experience at Nanominds was like that many of those people have the identity of being in protocol guild and all core devs and just straight rejecting some suggestions of like which team to move to Nethermind. So it works. And it means that we have this like organizations, DAOs interwoven in the ecosystem and just influencing each other. So yeah, good to always ask questions like, should we experiment with some new structure? Especially as each time we do it, we use some of the things that we co-inventing in the blockchain space through the research, through the new engineering solutions, and soon for the AI as well. I think that you're working on it very actively, and it's super cool. So yeah, let's keep asking these questions: why, how, when.
Well, I think that we're getting towards the end of the hour, so I'm going to have to start moving into wrap up questions. In 5 years, if you're maximally successful, what does Ethereum and the Ethereum Foundation look like? Play us forward to 2030.
Yeah. Okay. So first thing, I'm here for 2 years with the Ethereum Foundation. So I probably will continue with her leadership and then working with other people. 5 years from now, Ethereum being successful, I think that probably partially autonomous automated governance mechanism. So like maybe half of the foundation that we know now being totally automated and DAOized, and then the other aspects of success, probably global adoption. 5 years for sure. Yeah, we can expect something like maybe 3 billion users. That'll be super cool. The 5 years from now, I don't know, like maybe 10 to 20% global assets and economy tokenized and on blockchain. But I really feel that this is just intuition. I never really run those numbers, like to see the proper trajectories. I'm not saying that we shouldn't, and I think that we'll be doing that very soon. Like that's one of the things that I would like to do as an exercise in the foundation. Like look at the global economy and say like, okay, so like what should be the trajectory? Like how many of the global assets should be tokenized? Like if there is a global value to all the real estate in the world, how much of it is on Ethereum now? How much should be in a year or two? So I think that in 5 years we should like within a year we should know what the targets for 5 years are, and 5 years from now we should hit those targets. So this would be success, and this all should just touch all the global economy research. When I say I prefer this like attention, like the economy is very often about the resources in the sense of money. That's how people understand it. But I think the definition of economy is really allocation of resources. And you think of attention as a resource, then attention to research and new ideas becomes part of the economy. And then maybe even in the world without money, still blockchain is used for allocating attention and the tokens representing attention and not some kind of money. So that might be.
Someone should study how we do resource allocation and build better primitives on chain. Someone should do that. Is there anything we didn't ask Tomas that you want to say?
Well, probably too much to start a new chapter, but it's probably that you design something that is very nicely confined. So I wouldn't break those nice borders of what we have discussed.
Okay.
It's a massive pleasure to talk to you and be invited here. And I think that's always good to start a message where people come back and make a comment about what I said, what I didn't say, and this will start some new thinking.
This is going to be a good one. I feel it. I know it. Like, people are going to lose
Appreciate
their
you
mind.
making the time. Appreciate your stewardship of Ethereum. I think we're entering a new chapter, and you've got our sword. Let us know how Gitcoin and Allo can help. Thank you.
I appreciate
Thanks, Jeff.
everything that you're building. Keep building. It's amazing. Always inspiring.
Alrighty, we just heard from Tomas, the new co-executive director of the Ethereum Foundation. I am very excited about this conversation because I think that the new generation of Ethereum leadership is going to help us scale Ethereum, create more adoption, and to compete more in the smart contract economy. Thanks again for listening to the Allo.Capital podcast. Again, we feature the people who are building the capital allocation layer of the tokenized internet. Disclaimer, this podcast is for informative purposes only and is not financial advice. Do your own research. Do not make any financial decisions based off of these episodes. In addition, disclosure, I own crypto assets like ETH, DAI, USDC, and GGC. This was a fun episode with Tomas, and I hope to do many more like it as we figure out the path forward for Allo.Capital and Gitcoin and Ethereum writ large.